My name is Ashley, and I turned 30 years old that day in a quiet apartment in Richmond, Virginia. 30 years, 3 decades of trying to be seen, to be enough, to earn a fraction of the attention they freely showered on my sister. That morning, I woke up hoping for a phone call, a text, maybe even a card in the mail, a whisper of acknowledgement that I mattered. Instead, I got silence. Then, I got the ultimate, cruel slap in the face. On my 30th birthday, my family ignored me completely. Then I saw on Instagram that they surprised my sister, Brooke, with a trip to Paris, all heart emojis and screaming exclamation points. The humiliation was crushing, but the worst was the comment from my mother, pinned right at the top for the world to see. She's the only one who makes us proud. The pain wasn't a sudden stab. It was the sickening, crushing weight of 30 years of being invisible. I stared at the pathetic little cupcake I'd bought myself, a sad monument to my neglected existence. And then I stared at that comment, that final, unforgivable statement that my worth, my entire life, was 0. It felt like my mother reached into my chest and yanked out the last scrap of hope I had left. But in that instant, the pain curdled into cold, clean anger. I looked at the screen, and I logged into the joint bank account we shared. And right there, fueled by 3 decades of being invisible, of being the backup plan, of being the quiet disappointment, I clicked withdraw. Before you hear the devastating, justified truth of what I did and why I finally broke, please like this video, subscribe for more stories of self-preservation and standing up to toxic family, and comment below where you're watching from so I know I'm not alone in this hell. I worked as a pharmaceutical sales representative, pulling in decent money, but nothing glamorous. I lived alone, kept to myself, and had spent the better part of the last 8 years trying to prove to my parents that I was worth celebrating. The truth is, I wasn't surprised by the Paris trip or the comment. This was how it had always been. Brooke was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, who got all the praise and support. I was the one who got hand-me-downs and a pat on the head when I brought home straight A's. When Brooke struggled, she got private tutoring and expensive dance costumes without blinking. When I asked for photography classes, my father told me we couldn't afford it and that I should focus on more practical things. I worked at a grocery store after school to save up for a used camera, and they never once showed up to the small art show where my photos were displayed. But they attended every single one of Brooke's recitals, sitting in the front row with flowers. I sat there at my small kitchen table, the silence deafening, and opened my laptop. I logged into the joint bank account I'd been contributing to for the last 6 years. It started back when my dad had a health scare. He needed surgery, and the medical bills piled up fast. My parents didn't have great insurance and were drowning in debt. I had just landed my first big sales job, and I wanted to help. So, I set up automatic transfers, $500 a month straight from my paycheck into their account. It wasn't much, but over the years, it added up. I told myself it was the least I could do. They were my parents, after all. Except they never mentioned it. Not once. They never thanked me, never acknowledged the help. When I brought it up casually at Thanksgiving 2 years ago, my mom waved it off, a flick of her hand dismissing my enormous sacrifice, saying, "Oh, that's sweet of you, Ashley, but we're fine, really." Fine, they were fine. And yet, here they were, dropping what had to be several $1,000s on a spontaneous trip to Paris for Brooke. I did the bitter math in my head. 6 years, $500 a month. That was $36,000. $36,000 I'd given them, thinking I was helping, thinking maybe it would finally, painfully, mean something. I clicked through the account history, my stomach twisting with every entry. There were the usual expenses, groceries, utilities, but then the ugly, sickening truth was laid bare. A charge for $4,000 labeled travel agency, another for $500 labeled boutique shopping, and just last month, a $10,000 deposit into Brooke's personal account with the memo, gift. They'd been using my money. Not for medical bills, not for emergencies, but for Brooke. I sat back, my hands shaking, feeling like the most colossal idiot in the world. All those years, all that money, and they'd just been funneling it to my sister while I scraped by, living paycheck to paycheck, skipping vacations and new clothes because I wanted to make sure they were okay. I thought about all the times I'd eaten ramen for 2 weeks straight because my car needed repairs and I didn't want to touch my emergency fund. The countless sacrifices I'd made, all while my parents were treating Brooke like royalty with the money I earned. I looked at the phone screen, at the total balance, at the money I was owed, and I made a decision that felt cold, terrifying, and utterly necessary. I wasn't stealing. It was my money. I'd earned it. I'd given it freely, yes, but they'd lied to me. They'd taken advantage of me. So, I was taking it back. I clicked withdraw. It wasn't a quick fix. It took me 3 cold, nerve-wracking days to move all that money, $36,000, transferred back into my personal account in increments small enough not to trigger any immediate, frantic alerts from my father. I worked carefully, methodically, operating on a level of focus I usually reserved for high-pressure sales pitches. Every transaction was a declaration of war. I told myself, constantly, fiercely, that I wasn't stealing. It was my money. I'd earned it. I had given it freely, yes, but they had lied to me. They had taken advantage of my kindness, my anxiety, my lifelong desperate need for their approval. So, I was taking it back. I was reclaiming what was rightfully mine. But the guilt hit me anyway. It didn't arrive in a wave. It arrived in relentless, cold tides. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was being petty, if maybe I was overreacting. Was $36,000 worth sacrificing my family? Could I live with the knowledge that I had intentionally caused them financial distress? Then I would remember my mom's comment on that Instagram post. She's the only one who makes us proud. I'd remember the $10,000 gift to Brooke. I'd remember the 6 years of silence, the countless moments of being dismissed and invisible while they quietly took my money to fund their precious golden daughter. And the guilt would evaporate, replaced by something much harder, much colder, much more resolute. I didn't tell anyone what I'd done. Not my friends, not my coworkers. I went to work, kept living my life, kept pretending everything was normal. But inside, I was different. Lighter, maybe, because the burden of their financial emergencies was gone, but mostly just angrier. That anger was a low, constant hum, a fuel source. Brooke, completely oblivious and sun-drenched, called me from Paris on the 3rd day of her trip right as the last major transfer was clearing into my account. I let it go to voicemail. She called again the next day, and the day after that. Finally, I answered. I needed to hear the sound of her unearned joy, the proof of my parents' betrayal. Ashley, oh my God, you have to see this city. It's incredible, she chirped, the sound of her voice grating. Mom and Dad are being so generous. We went to the Louvre yesterday, and tonight we're having dinner at this amazing restaurant near the Eiffel Tower. Sounds nice, I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. Are you okay? You sound weird. I'm fine, just busy. Well, I wanted to thank you, she said, her voice dropping into a tone of sudden saccharine sincerity. I know, you've been helping Mom and Dad out, and I'm sure that's part of why they could do this for me. So, thank you. I almost laughed, a hard, bitter sound that would have terrified her. Thank you. Thank you for stealing my money and spending it on your spoiled vacation. Instead, I managed, don't worry about it. You're the best big sister ever, she concluded, and I could hear the triumphant smile in her voice. I hung up immediately and threw my phone across the room. The thing about Brooke is that she wasn't necessarily a bad person. She wasn't mean or intentionally malicious. She was just oblivious. She was spoiled, yes, but not intentionally cruel. She genuinely believed the world revolved around her because that's exactly how our parents had raised her. And I couldn't even blame her for that. It wasn't her fault they'd chosen her as the favorite. But the lack of awareness, the staggering entitlement still made the betrayal feel like a physical wound. I remembered when we were kids, maybe 10 and 14. I'd saved up my allowance for 3 months to buy a vintage camera. The day I finally had enough money, I came home excited to show my parents. But Brooke had just gotten a bad grade on a math test, and my parents were sitting with her, consoling her, promising her a new tablet if she brought her grades up. That's great, Ashley, my mom had said when I showed her the camera, barely glancing up. Now go do your homework. I took the camera to my room and cried. Not because I wanted praise, but because I wanted them to care just a little bit. I spent the next week researching what to do with the money. I wasn't going to blow it on something stupid. I wanted to use it wisely, in a way that would actually mean something, a way that would build a life that didn't need their approval. I thought about investing it, or putting it toward a down payment on a house, But then I stumbled across an ad for a medical billing course. It was a 6-month program that would certify me to work in healthcare administration, something I'd always been interested in but never had the time or, crucially, the money to pursue. The program cost $8,000 up front. Before, that would have felt impossible, a huge financial stretch that risked their supposed emergency fund. Now, I had the means. I signed up that night. I channeled all the rage, all the humiliation, all the years of invisibility into a single decisive act of self-improvement. My revenge wouldn't be cheap or easy. It would be my success. My parents didn't notice the missing money right away, or if they did, they were too busy maintaining the illusion of their perfect, Paris-funded lives to say anything. But 2 weeks after I withdrew the last major increment, right as the cold reality of my new life was settling into a determined rhythm, the inevitable happened. My dad called. The number flashed on my phone screen, and my heart sank, not with guilt, but with a cold dread for the impending storm. The anticipation was worse than the act itself. I answered, keeping my voice flat. "Ashley, we need to talk." My blood ran cold. "About what?" "The account," he said, his voice strained, a wire pulled taut. "There's been some kind of error. A lot of money is missing." "Missing?" I repeated, feigning ignorance. "Yes, over $30,000. I called the bank and they said it was transferred out. Do you know anything about that?" The panic in his voice was palpable, a sound I had never heard before. This wasn't the voice of the commanding father. It was the voice of the cornered debtor. I paused, choosing my words carefully, deliberately inserting the knife and twisting it slowly. I withdrew it. There was a long, terrible silence on the other end of the line, the silence of shock, of betrayal, of a man realizing his leverage was gone. "You what?" he finally choked out. "It was my money, Dad. I put it in there. I took it back out." Another silence, even heavier this time. Then, the manipulation began, the reflexive defense of their own choices. "Ashley, that money was for emergencies. We were counting on it." "Emergencies?" I shot back, my voice tight with rage. "Like a trip to Paris?" The next silence was the admission of guilt. He couldn't deny it. He couldn't spin it. "That's different," he said finally, lamely. "How is it different?" The words came out sharp, cutting. "Brooke needed a break? She's been working so hard? And your mom and I wanted to do something special for her? And what about me? Where was my special treatment? Where was my trip?" I continued, the anger finally released, flooding out like an unstoppable torrent. "I've been putting money into that account for 6 years, Dad. 6 years. And not once did you or Mom say thank you. Not once did you ask if I needed help. You just took it and gave it to Brooke. That's not help. That's exploitation." "That's not fair," he insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. He knew he was beaten. "No, Dad. What's not fair is that I've been busting my ass to support this family while you treat me like I don't exist. I was sacrificing my own life eating ramen, skipping necessities because I believed your lies about emergencies. You treated me like your backup bank account, your reliable, invisible ATM, while you used my hard-earned money to spoil the golden child." "So, yeah," I concluded, the anger settling into a cold, hard resolve. "I took my money back, and I'm not sorry." I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but this time, it wasn't from guilt or fear. It was from the fierce adrenaline of finally standing up for myself, of cutting the rope that had been strangling me for years. It felt good. Terrifying, yes, but undeniably, finally good. The massive hollow ache in my chest had been filled, not with forgiveness, but with liberation. The fallout was immediate and predictable. My mom called me that evening, her voice shrill and accusatory, the high-pitched whine of the wounded perpetrator. "How could you do this to us, Ashley? We trusted you." "You trusted me?" I shot back, matching her volume with cold precision. "You've been lying to me for years. You didn't trust me. You used me." "We didn't lie. We just didn't think you'd make such a big deal out of it," she insisted, her sheer lack of self-awareness staggering. "A big deal? Mom, that was $36,000. $36,000 I gave you because I thought you were in dire need. And you spent it on Brooke. Brooke is going through a lot right now," she pleaded, retreating into the standard defense. "She needed our support. And I didn't. My mom didn't answer that. She couldn't. Instead, she resorted to the old, reliable script. Your father and I are very disappointed in you." I laughed bitterly, a harsh, humorless sound. Of course you are, because I'm always the disappointment, aren't I? Brooke can do no wrong. But me? I'm just the screw-up who doesn't deserve anything. That's not true. She snapped, but the conviction was gone. Isn't it? When's the last time you celebrated anything I did, Mom? When's the last time you even asked how I was doing? She was quiet for a long, painful moment. Then, the final, pathetic manipulation. We'll talk about this when you've calmed down. And she hung up. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but the tears wouldn't come. Instead, I felt this cold, hollow ache, like a piece of me had been violently ripped out. I'd always known my parents favored Brooke, but hearing my mom defend the theft and the neglect so casually, that was the final, devastating realization. Their love was conditional, and my worth was measured only by my utility to them. But now, that utility was gone, and so was their leverage. I threw myself into the medical billing course after that disastrous, accusatory call with my mother. It was more than a career move. It was a way to distract myself, to channel all the raw, white-hot anger and the deep, abiding hurt into something relentlessly productive. The coursework was intense, but I loved it. For the first time in years, I felt like I was doing something strictly for myself, not to prove a point, not to earn their pathetic, conditional approval, but just for me. The classes were held twice a week in the evenings. On weekends, I studied at a coffee shop near my apartment, finding a small, necessary community with other students who were also trying to better their lives. I met Patricia, a single mom in her 42nd who was retraining after being laid off. We'd grab lunch and she'd tell me stories about how hard it was, but how absolutely worth it. You're doing the right thing, she told me one Saturday afternoon. Investing in yourself, that's the smartest thing you can do. Her words stuck with me, a simple truth that was a harsh contrast to my parents' complicated web of lies. My coworker Vanessa noticed the stark change in me too. I didn't tell her everything, but I told her enough about the money, about my family, about how invisible I'd always felt. You did the right thing, she said firmly. They were taking advantage of you. I keep telling myself that, I admitted, the guilt still a faint, annoying buzz. But part of me still feels guilty, because they're my parents, and Brooke is my sister. I'm supposed to just forgive them, right? Forgiveness isn't the same as being a doormat, Ashley, Vanessa countered, her words sharp and clear. You can love your family and still set boundaries. Her wisdom was a revelation. I had spent so long trying to earn my family's love that I'd forgotten I didn't have to. I could just walk away. But walking away was easier said than done. Brooke came back from Paris 3 weeks after my birthday. She called me repeatedly. This time, I answered. I needed to hear her side of the story, not as a sister, but as a victim, assessing the collateral damage. Ashley, what the hell is going on? Mom and Dad are furious with you, she burst out, the entitled tone still clinging to her voice. I'm sure they are, I said flatly. They said you took money out of their account. Is that true? It was my money, Brooke, but they needed it. No, I corrected, my voice cold. They used it to send you to Paris. The silence was instant, heavy. She hadn't known. The oblivious princess finally had the dirty truth shoved in her face. I didn't know that, she whispered, the spoiled veneer cracking. Of course you didn't, I snapped, refusing to soften. You never know anything, do you? You just get to coast through life while the rest of us pick up the pieces. That's not fair, she cried. Maybe not, but it's true. Ashley, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it doesn't matter anymore, I interrupted, cutting her apology short. It was too little, too late. Just enjoy your life, Brooke. That's what you're good at. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. That night, I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. She looked harder, angrier, but also stronger. I thought again about my mom's vile Instagram comment. She's the only one who makes us proud. And I realized something profound and liberating. I didn't need them to be proud of me. I just needed to be proud of myself. And for the first time in my life, I was. I took a selfie, standing in my bathroom in sweatpants with messy hair, and I smiled a real, genuine, utterly defiant smile because I'd finally done something for me. I posted it on my own Instagram with a simple caption, 30 and thriving. This wasn't for them. It was my final declaration of independence. A month passed before my parents reached out again. I had blocked Brooke's number, but my mother, ever determined to control the narrative, found another way to contact me. Email. The subject line read, "We need to talk about this situation." I almost deleted it without reading. But the raw, angry curiosity, the need to know the depth of their delusion got the better of me. I opened it, and the contents confirmed every cold, bitter thought I'd had. "Ashley, your father and I have been discussing your recent behavior, and we think you owe us an explanation. Taking that money was extremely selfish, especially when you knew we had plans. Brooke has been very upset by all of this, and frankly, so have we. We raised you better than this. We expect you to return the money immediately and apologize to your sister for ruining her trip experience. She's been crying every day since she found out what you did. Family is supposed to support each other, and you've let us all down. Please call us so we can resolve this like adults." I read it 3 times, my blood pressure rising with each ridiculous, self-serving sentence. They expected me to apologize. They expected me to return the money. And somehow, in their twisted logic, I was the one who had ruined Brooke's trip, a trip she had already taken and enjoyed, a trip funded entirely by my own hard-earned money. They expected me to apologize for their theft. The rage was no longer hot, it was cold and sharp. I typed out a response, my fingers flying across the keyboard, precise and unforgiving. I would not yell. I would simply state the truth in terms they could not distort. "Mom, I don't owe you anything. Not an explanation, not an apology, and certainly not that money. I gave it to you in good faith, believing you needed it for medical bills and essential expenses. Instead, you used it to spoil Brooke while treating me like I didn't exist. I'm done being your backup bank account. I'm done being invisible." I paused only to deliver the final irrevocable demand. "Don't contact me again unless you're ready to have an honest conversation about how you've treated me for the last 30 years. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The fear was still there, but the relief was 1,000 times stronger. I had finally used my voice and my money to build a wall between their toxicity and my sanity. My medical billing course was going well. I had completed 2 months of the program and was excelling in all my classes. Patricia and I had become genuine friends, and she was the first person I told the full extent of the email exchange. "They said what?" she asked, eyes wide with disbelief. "They want you to apologize and return the money? Are they insane?" "Apparently," I conceded. My mom made it sound like I'd committed some terrible crime, but Patricia shook her head. "You know what I think? I think they're panicking. They got used to having that cushion of money, and now it's gone. They're trying to guilt you into giving it back." "It's working a little," I admitted, my voice low. "I keep thinking about Brooke crying." "Brooke's a grown woman," Patricia stated firmly. "If she's crying, it's because she finally had to face reality." I desperately wanted to believe that, but there was still a painful, deeply embedded part of me that felt guilty, the part that had been trained since childhood, to put everyone else first, to smooth things over, to make sure everyone was happy, everyone except me. Then my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number, but I recognized the Virginia area code. Against my better judgment, the old, weak part of me answered. "Hello," I said, my voice guarded. "Ashley, it's Dad." I should have hung up. I should have blocked the number immediately, but something in his voice, a new sound of genuine desperation, stopped me. "What do you want?" "I want to talk. Really talk. Not argue, not fight. Just talk." "Your mom's email was out of line." I told her that. "But Ashley, you have to understand where we're coming from. That money? We had plans for it. Plans that didn't include me. It's not that simple." "Actually, Dad, it is. You took my money and gave it to Brooke. You let Mom post that comment on Instagram saying Brooke was the only one who made you proud. You forgot my birthday. It really is that simple." "We didn't forget your birthday. Your mom was just distracted with getting Brooke to the airport." "That's worse, Dad. That's so much worse. You chose to prioritize Brooke over me again, like you always do. Brooke needs more support. She's not as stable as you are." There it was, the excuse I'd heard 1,000 times growing up. Brooke needs more. Brooke's struggling. Brooke deserves special treatment. And me? I was just supposed to be stable, solid, the one who never needed anything, the one whose stability was their endless resource. "I'm not doing this anymore," I said, the words quiet but final. "I'm not going to keep setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. Ashley, no. No, Dad. I'm done. I took my money back. and I'm using it to better my life. If you can't be happy for me, then we don't have anything else to talk about." I hung up and immediately blocked the number. My hands were shaking, but a strange sense of calm washed over me. Every time he stood up to them, it got a little easier. The guilt was still there, but it was quieter now, easier to ignore. I had chosen my life over their dysfunction, and that choice was the most valuable thing I had ever done. Vanessa noticed my strained mood at work and pulled me aside during our lunch break. "You okay? You seem tense." My defenses were down, shattered by the confrontation with my father. "My dad called," I admitted, the words heavy with exhaustion. "Oh no, what happened?" she asked. I told her everything. The accusation that I was selfish. His pathetic excuse that Brooke needed more support because she wasn't as stable as I was, and how I had fully rejected the role of the stable, silent martyr. Vanessa listened without interrupting, her silence a comfort, not a judgment. When I finished, she didn't offer a platitude. She offered a painful truth. "You know what I think? I think you're grieving." "Grieving?" I echoed, confused. "Yeah, you're grieving the family you thought you had, or the family you wanted to have. And that's okay. It's normal. But you can't let that grief pull you back into their dysfunction." She was right. I was mourning the relationship I'd never have with my parents, the easy sisterhood Brooke and I would never share. But more than that, I was grieving the version of myself who had spent so many years trying to earn a love that should have been freely given. That version of Ashley was finally, irrevocably dead. That weekend, I was studying at the coffee shop, fully immersed in complex medical billing codes, when my phone buzzed with a text from another unknown number. This time, I knew it was Brooke. She was getting desperate. "Ashley, please talk to me. I got a new phone. I didn't know about the money. I didn't know they were using yours. I'm so sorry. Can we please talk?" I stared at the message, the temptation to respond painful and strong. Part of me, the old, weak part, wanted to respond, wanted to hear what she had to say, wanted that absolution. But the stronger part, the part fueled by the $36,000 in the medical billing textbook in front of me, knew it wouldn't change anything. Not yet. I typed back, my words measured and firm. "Brooke, I need space. I'm not ready to talk yet. Maybe someday, but not now." She responded immediately. "I understand. I'm here when you're ready. I love you." I didn't reply. I had to hold the line. My focus needed to be entirely on the new life I was building. 3 months into my medical billing course, something truly unexpected happened. My instructor, a woman named Diane who had worked in healthcare administration for 20 years, pulled me aside after class. "Ashley, I wanted to talk to you about your work. You're one of the top students in the program," she said, surprising me into silence. "I'm serious. Your attention to detail is exceptional, and you have a real knack for this. Have you thought about what you want to do after you finish?" I was hoping to find a position at a hospital or clinic, something stable, I admitted. Diane smiled. "I have a friend who works at Virginia Commonwealth University Health System. They're looking for someone to join their billing department. It's a senior position, and the pay is excellent. I'd like to recommend you." My heart skipped. Really? An opportunity, handed to me not by conditional family love but by earned merit. Really? Really? I'll send you the details. You'd have to interview, of course, but I think you'd be perfect for it. I walked out of class that day feeling lighter than I had in months. This was it. This was the opportunity I'd been working toward. The culmination of channeling my righteous anger into a tangible future. I'd done it all on my own, without my family's support or even their knowledge. When I got home, the universe offered one last piece of their pathetic guilt. There was an envelope slipped under my door. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Immediately. My mom's. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a birthday card, 3 months late, and a check for $500. The card read, "We're sorry we missed your birthday. We hope this makes up for it. Love, Mom and Dad." $500. A fraction of what I'd given them over the years. And they thought this would fix things. They thought I could be bought off with a pittance after they had stolen $36,000 to send the golden child to Paris. I tore up the check and threw it in the trash. The sight of the shredded paper was a small, satisfying violence. I didn't need their money. I needed my freedom and my self-worth. I will continue the script, maintaining the requested narrator's voice only, the tone of anger and pain, and dramatically expanding the narrative by depicting the successful interview, the massive salary increase, and the family's final, desperate attempt to reclaim their financial leverage. The interview at Virginia Commonwealth University Health System was scheduled for the following Tuesday. I spent the entire weekend preparing, reviewing my coursework, practicing answers to common interview questions. The night before, Vanessa helped me pick out a professional outfit, a navy blazer and slacks that made me look capable and confident. This was it, the biggest opportunity I'd had in years, and I was absolutely determined not to let my lingering family trauma ruin it for me. The interview went better than I could have imagined. The hiring manager, a woman named Caroline, was sharp and focused. She was impressed with my background in pharmaceutical sales and, crucially, with my dedication to completing the medical billing program while working full-time. She understood that my work ethic was forged in necessity. We need someone who's organized, detail-oriented, and can handle high-pressure situations, Caroline stated. From what Diane told me and what I'm seeing here, you fit that description perfectly. Thank you. I'm really excited about this opportunity, I managed to say, trying to keep the raw, desperate hope out of my voice. The position comes with full benefits, and the starting salary is $75,000 a year, she announced. I nearly fell out of my chair. $75,000. That was almost double what I was making in pharmaceutical sales. That was a salary that meant total, unassailable independence. That was a salary that made my parents' pathetic, stolen $36,000 look like pocket change. That works perfectly, I finally replied, managing a tight professional smile. Great. I'll be in touch by the end of the week with our decision. I walked out of the hospital feeling like I was floating. My life was actually turning around. It was really happening. When I got back to my car, the reality of my old life immediately slapped me in the face. 6 missed calls from my mom and 3 from my dad. I ignored them all. They couldn't touch this success. That evening, Vanessa and I went to a wine bar to celebrate. I told her about the interview, about the salary, about how surreal everything felt. You deserve this, she said, raising her glass. After everything you've been through, you deserve something good. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, I admitted, the fear of losing this new reality still lodged in my throat. Nothing's going to go wrong. You're talented. You've worked hard. And you're finally putting yourself first. That's not selfish. That's survival. We talked for hours, and for the first time in months, I felt genuinely happy. Not just relieved or vindicated, but actually, authentically happy. But when I got home that night, there was another email from my mom. This one had a terrifying subject line, emergency. My stomach dropped. Despite everything, they were still my parents. If something was truly wrong, I knew the deeply trained part of me would still feel the pull. I opened the email. Ashley, we need to talk immediately. Your father lost his job last week and we're in serious financial trouble. We need that money back. This isn't a request. This is a genuine emergency. We could lose the house. Please call us as soon as you get this. Mom. I read it twice, my happiness draining away, replaced by cold dread and fury. My dad had lost his job. They might lose the house. And somehow, in their narrative, this was still my responsibility. Except it wasn't. I had given them $36,000 over 6 years. They had used it for luxury trips and gifts for Brooke, instead of saving it for actual emergencies. This was the consequence of their choices, not mine. But the guilt was still crushing. They were my parents. No matter how badly they treated me, did I really want them to lose their home? I called Vanessa, needing her cold logic to fight my emotional training. They're saying it's an emergency, I told her, my voice frantic. My dad lost his job. They might lose the house. Ashley, listen to me very carefully. This is not your problem. But what if they're telling the truth? What if they really are in trouble? Then they need to figure it out like adults. They can downsize. They can get new jobs. They can ask Brooke for help. You are not their safety net. You gave them $36,000 and they wasted it. If they're in financial trouble now, that's on them. I know you're right. I know that, but nothing. You're about to start an amazing new job. You're building a life for yourself. Don't let them drag you back down. I took a deep breath, clutching the phone. You're right. You're absolutely right. After I hung up with Vanessa, I replied to my mom's email. I typed slowly, deliberately, ensuring every word was a steel spike driven into the ground. Mom, I'm sorry to hear about Dad's job, but I can't help you financially. I gave you $36,000 over the years, and you chose to spend it on things that weren't emergencies. I have my own life to worry about now. I suggest you talk to Brooke about helping out since she's the one you've always prioritized. Best of luck. Ashley. I hit SEND and turned off my phone. 3 days later, I got the call from Caroline. I'd gotten the job. I started crying right there in my living room. Happy tears. Tears of relief. Tears for everything I'd been through to get to this moment. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. My start date at the hospital was 3 weeks away. I gave my notice at the pharmaceutical company, and my boss was surprisingly understanding, even congratulatory. The medical billing course was winding down, and I'd finished with top marks. Everything was finally falling into place, a stark, beautiful contrast to the implosion of my family's existence. Then, Brooke showed up at my apartment. I was coming home from the grocery store when I saw her sitting on the steps outside my building. She looked different, thinner, and tired. Her usual polished appearance was gone, replaced by something more subdued, more real. The armor was cracking. "What are you doing here?" I asked, not unkindly, but not warmly either. "I needed to see you to apologize in person." "Brooke, I told you I need space." "I know, but please just give me 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." I hesitated, then unlocked the door. 5 minutes. We went up to my apartment, and I set the groceries on the counter. Brooke stood awkwardly in my living room, looking around like she'd never been there before. She hadn't. I'd never invited her into my sanctuary. "Ashley, I didn't know," she started, the words a desperate rush. "I swear I didn't know they were using your money. When I found out, I confronted them. We had a huge fight, and they told me you were being dramatic, that you'd given them the money freely, and now you were trying to hold it over their heads." "But I know that's not true," she admitted, tears forming in her eyes. "I went through their bank statements. I saw everything." I crossed my arms. "So, what do you want? Absolution?" "No," she choked out. "I want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being oblivious, for taking everything for granted, for not realizing how badly they were treating you. You're my sister, and I should have noticed." Her voice cracked on the last word. "Brooke, you were just being who they taught you to be," I said, the anger softening just a fraction. I didn't blame her for the programming, only for her refusal to see the truth until it benefited her. But I should have been better. I should have paid attention. I should have stood up for you. "Yeah," I conceded, the single word heavy with years of buried pain. "You should have. I told them I'm not taking any more money from them until they apologize to you, and I meant it. That surprised me." "You did?" "I did. And they're furious with me now, too. Apparently, I'm being ungrateful." Despite everything, I felt a small flicker of grim solidarity. "Welcome to my world. I don't know how you dealt with this for so long. I didn't have a choice." Brooke wiped her eyes, her face tight with newfound resolve. "I'm moving out of their house. I got my own apartment, and I'm going back to school to finish my degree. I'm not going to be their perfect little princess anymore." "Good for you," I said, and I meant it. "Do you think we could ever be real sisters? Not just by blood, but actually be there for each other?" "Maybe someday," I said. "But it's going to take time, Brooke. A lot of time. We're starting from scratch." She left, and though the apology was agonizing and raw, I felt a fragile hope. She was trying. But the silence was immediately broken by my mother. Another email. "Ashley, I don't know what you said to Brooke, but she's refusing to help us. You've turned her against us. You're tearing this family apart. I hope you're happy." I deleted the email without responding. I was happy, and that was exactly what terrified them the most. My independence. The day before I started my new job, I went through all my social media and unfollowed my parents. I was done letting their lives affect mine. As I was scrolling, I noticed something odd. My mom had posted a status update 2 days earlier. "Sometimes your children disappoint you in ways you never imagined. We raised Ashley to be better than this, but she's chosen selfishness over family, praying for her to see the light." The post had dozens of comments, mostly from relatives and family friends supporting my mom. But then I saw the truth coming out from the people who had actually seen the dysfunction. My Aunt Linda, my dad's sister, had commented, Maybe it's time to look at your own actions instead of blaming Ashley. I've watched you treat that girl like garbage for years. She deserves better." And my cousin Jake had written, "Ashley's been supporting you guys financially for years, and you never even thanked her." Maybe she got tired of being taken for granted. A rush of powerful vindication washed over me. Other people had noticed. Other people knew the truth. I screenshotted the post and the comments, saving them as insurance in case I ever needed proof. My first day at Virginia Commonwealth University Health System was nerve-wracking but exhilarating. The department was busy but organized, and everyone seemed genuinely welcoming. This was real. This was mine, and nobody could take it away from me. At the end of my first week, Caroline, my manager, told me, "I've been getting great feedback from the team. You're catching on fast. And I wanted you to know that there's room for growth here. If you continue performing at this level, I could see you moving into a management position within a year or two." Management. Within a year or two? I was flying. That weekend, I finally responded to my mother's public attack. I opened the Facebook post and commented. I typed slowly, deliberately, ensuring every word was a steel spike driven into the foundation of their lies. "Mom, I gave you $36,000 over 6 years to help with medical bills and expenses. You used it to fund luxury trips and gifts for Brooke while ignoring me completely. You forgot my birthday, publicly stated that Brooke was the only child who made you proud, and now you're trying to guilt me into giving you more money. I'm done being your ATM. If you want a relationship with me, start by apologizing and taking responsibility for your actions." I hit post before I could second-guess myself, then immediately logged off and blocked both my parents on all social media. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter than I had in years. I had finally told the truth. I had finally stood up for myself in a way that couldn't be ignored or dismissed, and I was done apologizing for it. I will continue the script, maintaining the requested narrator's voice only, the tone of anger and pain, and dramatically expanding the narrative by depicting the aftermath of the viral Facebook post and the final brutal dinner confrontation. Here is Chapter 9, The Last Dinner and the Truth, focusing on the dramatic public and private consequences. The Facebook post exploded overnight. By the time I woke up the next morning, there were over 200 comments, countless shares, and my phone was flooded with messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Some were supportive, others were demanding explanations, but the dynamic had irrevocably shifted. I had seized control of the narrative. My Aunt Linda, my dad's sister, called me at 7 a.m. "Ashley, honey, are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, the words ringing with genuine relief. "Better than fine, actually. I just saw what you posted. I had no idea it was that bad. Most people didn't. They were good at hiding it. Well, the truth is out now. Your Uncle Tom and I have been talking, and we want you to know we're on your side. What your parents did was inexcusable. Thank you. That means a lot." And then came the gratifying update. "And between you and me, your mother is losing her mind. She's been calling everyone in, the family, trying to get them to side with her. It's not going well for her." Good. I felt a small, fierce surge of satisfaction. They wanted an audience? They got one. I checked my email. There were 3 messages from my mom, each more desperate than the last. The first was angry, accusing me of betrayal and slander. The second was manipulative, talking about how hurt she and my dad were. The third was almost pleading, asking me to delete the post and call her. I deleted all 3 without responding. At work that Monday, I threw myself into my new role. The hospital billing department was complex and demanding, but I loved the challenge. Caroline had given me several high-priority accounts to manage, and I was determined to prove that I belonged there. During lunch, Vanessa called. "So, I saw your Facebook post. You and everyone else. Are you okay?" That took guts. "I'm tired of hiding their dysfunction," I explained. "If they wanted privacy, they shouldn't have aired their grievances publicly first." "Fair point. How are they taking it?" "Not well, from what I hear. But that's not my problem anymore." That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. "Hello, Ashley. It's your dad." "How did you get this number?" I demanded. "I asked your cousin Jake." "Please don't hang up." I said nothing, waiting. "Your mother is beside herself. That Facebook post. You've humiliated us in front of the entire family. You humiliated yourselves. I just told the truth. We need to meet face to face. We need to resolve this." "There's nothing to resolve, Dad. You and Mom made your choices. I made mine. We're done. Ashley, please, we're your parents. Then maybe you should have acted like it. I'm asking you one more time. Meet with us this week. We'll buy you dinner. We'll talk things through like adults. Like adults. I almost laughed out loud at the absurdity. Dad, adults don't forget their daughter's birthday. Adults don't steal money from one child to spoil another. Adults take responsibility for their actions. We're willing to admit we made mistakes, he insisted, the desperation palpable. That stopped me. You're willing to admit it? Yes. We know we haven't been perfect. We want to make things right. The sudden flicker of hope, the old, weak part of me flared up. I gave him the terms. Fine, one dinner. But I choose the place and Brooke comes too. Why does Brooke need to be there? He demanded, immediately retreating into control. Because she's part of this family too, and she deserves to hear whatever you have to say. Friday night came faster than I expected. I chose a quiet restaurant in downtown Richmond, public enough that they couldn't make a scene, but private enough for a serious conversation. I arrived early, and Brooke showed up 15 minutes before our parents, looking nervous but resolute. You okay? She asked. I will be, I promised. At exactly 6 p.m., my parents walked in. My mom looked older, her face tight, with stress. My dad's shoulders were hunched, carrying the heavy weight of their failure. They sat down across from us, and the silence was suffocating. Thank you for agreeing to meet. My dad finally cleared his throat. Let's just get to it, I said. You wanted to talk, so talk. My mom folded her hands on the table. Ashley, we owe you an apology. We've been thinking a lot about what you said about the money and how we've treated you. And you're right. We haven't been fair to you. Go on. We've always worried about Brooke more because she struggled with things you seemed to handle easily. You were always so independent, so capable. We thought you didn't need us as much. So, you just stopped trying? You forgot my birthday, Mom. You commented on Instagram that Brooke was the only one who made you proud. How is that prioritizing differently? She looked down. That comment was a mistake. I was just excited for your sister. A mistake you left up for everyone to see. My dad jumped in, trying to salvage the situation. We're here because we want to fix this. We want our family back. You want your ATM back? I corrected. Let's be honest about what this is really about. Dad lost his job. You're in financial trouble. And suddenly you want to reconcile. The timing is pretty convenient. Brooke spoke up for the first time, her voice shaking but firm. She's right. You didn't care about fixing things until you needed money. Ashley's been telling the truth about everything. I went through the bank statements. I saw where all her money went, and I've been thinking about how differently you treated us growing up. She's not making this up. My mom's facade finally cracked. What do you want from us, Ashley? You want us to grovel, to beg? We're here. We're apologizing. What more do you want? I want you to mean it, I said, cold and quiet. Then prove it. Tell me one thing you're proud of me for. One accomplishment you celebrated. One time you put my needs first. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She couldn't think of anything. The cold, devastating realization hit me like a physical punch. They truly couldn't think of a single thing. That's what I thought, I whispered. Ashley, you're being unreasonable. We're trying here, my dad pleaded. No, you're trying to manipulate me into feeling guilty, so I'll give you more money. There's a difference. I reached for Brooke's hand under the table, drawing strength from her solidarity. Let me make something very clear. I'm not giving you any more money. Not now, not ever. I spent 6 years supporting you, and you used me. That's done. We're going to lose the house, Ashley. Is that what you want? My mom cried, resorting to the ultimate guilt. You're not going to be homeless. You have options. You can downsize. You can get jobs. You can ask Brooke for help since she's apparently the only daughter you care about. I already told them no, Brooke said quietly. I'm not enabling this. Anymore either. My parents looked at Brooke with matching expressions of betrayal. My mom pushed back from the table, her voice rising to a frantic pitch. This is ridiculous. We've apologized. We've admitted we made mistakes. What more do you want? I want you to acknowledge that you hurt me, not just say sorry because you think it's what I want to hear. Fine. You want specifics? We're sorry we forgot your birthday. We're sorry we didn't celebrate your achievements. We're sorry we used your money. Is that what you wanted to hear? Say it like you mean it. My mom's face hardened. I've said all I'm going to say. If that's not good enough for you, then I guess we're done here. She stood up. My dad looked between us, his face defeated. Are you coming? My mom asked him. He stood slowly. Ashley, I hope you reconsider. Family is important. Family is important, I agreed. That's why I'm not letting you abuse me anymore. They left without another word. Brooke and I sat there in silence for a moment. Well, Brooke finally said, a small, weary smile crossing her face. That went about as well as expected. Yeah. Are you okay? I am, actually. I gave them a chance. They blew it. That's on them. We ordered dinner and spent the next hour talking about everything except our parents. For the first time in our lives, we were just two sisters having dinner. No competition, no favoritism, no drama. Just us. I will continue the script, maintaining the requested narrator's voice only, the tone of anger and pain, and dramatically expanding the narrative by depicting the aftermath of the failed reconciliation, the father's eventual genuine apology, and the official start of the new, self-made life. After they left that restaurant, Brooke and I stayed there for a long time. The tension was gone, replaced by a quiet, clean exhaustion. We had given them a chance to be honest, to be parents, and they had failed spectacularly, choosing pride and greed over their own children. But in that failure, Brooke and I found each other. We ordered dinner and spent the next hour talking about everything except our parents, Brooke's new apartment, the classes she was planning to take, my job, my future. For the first time in our lives, we were just two sisters having dinner, with no competition, no favoritism, and no suffocating drama. Thank you for showing up, Brooke said when we left, hugging me tight. Thank you for giving me another chance, I replied. Over the next few weeks, my life settled into a new normal that felt like genuine, hard-won peace. I excelled at my job, impressing Caroline and the rest of the team with my work ethic and attention to detail. The hospital environment suited me. I found real satisfaction in knowing my work mattered, even if indirectly. My parents tried reaching out a few more times, emails, voicemails, even a manipulative letter sent to my apartment. Each message was the same, superficially apologetic, but always circling back to their financial problems and how I could help. I ignored them all. The wall was up, and it was impenetrable. The family drama on Facebook eventually died down, but not before several relatives reached out privately to tell me they'd suspected something was wrong for years. My Aunt Linda became a regular, comforting presence in my life, actively supportive and going out of her way to include me. Your mother is furious with me, Linda told me one Sunday afternoon over coffee. She thinks I'm turning the family against her. She did that all by herself, I said, cold and hard. I'm just refusing to pretend everything is fine. 3 months after the disastrous dinner, my career accelerated again. Caroline called me into her office, a knowing smile on her face. We're creating a new position, Assistant Director of Medical Billing. I'd like to offer it to you. My jaw dropped. Already? You've proven yourself, Ashley. You're organized, efficient, and the team respects you. The position comes with a significant raise and more responsibilities. I accepted immediately. Assistant Director. 6 months ago, I'd been crying over a birthday cupcake, feeling worthless and invisible. Now, I was being promoted to a leadership position at a major hospital, earning more money than my father ever truly managed. That weekend, Patricia threw me an impromptu celebration. It was small, just her kids, Vanessa and Brooke, but it meant everything. These people had seen me at my lowest and supported me as I rebuilt my life. To Ashley, Patricia toasted, raising her glass. The strongest person I know. Later that night, as I was driving home, my phone rang. It was my dad. I almost didn't answer, but something, a residual thread of hope, or maybe just the knowledge that I was now strong enough to handle anything he threw at me, made me pick up. Hello, Ashley. It's Dad. Please don't hang up. What do you want? I wanted to tell you that I got a new job. It doesn't pay as much as the old one, but it's something, and your mom is working part-time at a retail store. Good for you, I replied, waiting for the ask, the manipulation. It didn't come. We're going to be okay, he said. We're figuring it out. He paused, and then the words I had waited 30 years to hear finally came, stripped of all artifice and excuse. I also wanted to say I'm sorry, really sorry. Not because I want something from you, but because you deserve to hear it. We were wrong. We treated you terribly, and there's no excuse for that. I had to pull over, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Tears streamed down my face. This was it. This was the unconditional acknowledgement of my pain. "Your mother isn't ready to admit it yet," he continued, his voice heavy with self-disgust. "But I am. You were right about everything. We took you for granted. We played favorites. We used you. And I'm sorry." "Thank you," I managed to say, the gratitude a raw ache in my throat. He didn't ask for money, didn't try to guilt me into anything. He just talked, and I listened. And for the first time in my life, I felt like my dad actually saw me, not as a resource, but as his daughter. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. It was the necessary end to the emotional war. The following months brought changes I never could have imagined. My new role as assistant director kept me busy but fulfilled. I implemented new systems that streamlined the billing process, saving the hospital thousands of dollars. Brooke and I grew closer, meeting for dinner once a week. She'd enrolled in community college and was even seeing a therapist to work through the family dynamics that had shaped her entitlement. The fact that she was trying to change was the truest victory of all. My mom still hadn't apologized, and I'd accepted that she probably never would. Some people aren't capable of that kind of self-reflection. But my life was full in ways I never thought possible. I was happy, successful, and surrounded by people who loved me without conditions. The best revenge, I realized, wasn't the withdrawal of money, but the unstoppable growth of my own, self-made life. The following months solidified the new reality. My professional life was a relentless ascent. 6 months into my new position as assistant director, I attended a healthcare administration conference in Washington. During a session on billing innovations, I met a woman named Grace who ran a consulting firm. She was impressed by my ideas. "You have some really interesting ideas," she said after my presentation. "Have you ever thought about consulting?" "Not really," I admitted. "I'm happy where I am." "Well, if you ever change your mind, here's my card. We're always looking for talented people." I pocketed the card, not thinking much of it at the time, but the subtle shift was clear. My professional market value was now undeniable. That Christmas, I spent the holiday with Aunt Linda's family. It was the first Christmas in years where I felt genuinely welcomed and valued. Brooke came too, and we exchanged gifts and laughed, and I felt a sense of belonging I had never known in my own home. My parents called on Christmas morning. My dad wished me a Merry Christmas, and I could hear my mom in the background, though she didn't get on the phone. "How's your day going?" he asked. "It's good," I replied, honestly. "Really good. I'm glad. You deserve it." After we hung up, I didn't feel sad or angry. I just felt at peace. The new year brought more opportunities. Caroline, my supervisor, approached me about pursuing a master's degree in healthcare administration. With the hospital willing to pay for most of it, I enrolled in an online program. I was excited about the chance to further my education, to cement my success with yet another layer of self-made accomplishment. My life was full in ways I never thought possible. One Saturday afternoon, I was cleaning my active Life 4 apartment when I found the old birthday card. My parents had sent the one with the $500 check I'd torn up. I'd kept the pieces in a drawer, though I wasn't sure why. I looked at them for a long moment, those pathetic fragments of a bribe, then threw them in the trash. I didn't need their money. I didn't need their approval. I had built a life I was proud of, surrounded by people who actually valued me. My mother finally broke her silence. She sent an email with no subject line. "Ashley, I've been doing a lot of thinking. Your father tells me you're doing well, and I'm glad. I'm not good at apologies, and I don't know if I ever will be, but I want you to know that I do see you now. I see what we did, how we hurt you. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better." It wasn't the groveling apology I'd once fantasized about. It wasn't even a particularly good apology. But it was something. It was an acknowledgement of her wrongdoing, delivered, without the ask for money. I wrote back, "Thank you for saying that. I'm not ready to have a relationship yet, but maybe someday. I hope you and Dad are doing okay." That was enough for now. As spring turned to summer, my life continued to flourish. The hospital promoted me again, this time to Director of Revenue Operations, overseeing multiple departments. My salary had nearly tripled from what I'd been making in pharmaceutical sales, and I'd started looking at houses to buy. My parents struggled for a while after my dad's job loss, eventually selling their large house and moving into a smaller condo. They both worked now, living within their means for the first time in years. According to Brooke, they talked about me sometimes, expressing regret for how they'd treated me, though my mom still struggled to say it directly. Brooke graduated from community college with honors and transferred to a 4-year university. She had found her own path, independent of our parents' expectations, and I was genuinely proud of her. The family members who'd sided with my parents quietly reached out over time, some apologizing, others just trying to rebuild bridges. I was selective about who I let back in, choosing relationships that felt authentic rather than obligatory. 1 year after that fateful birthday, I celebrated turning 31 with a party at my new townhouse. Vanessa, Patricia, Brooke, Aunt Linda, and several colleagues from the hospital came. As everyone sang happy birthday, I looked around at these people who'd become my chosen family, and I felt overwhelmed with gratitude, not for the struggle I'd endured, but for the strength I'd found within myself to fight back. My parents never regained their financial stability. They lived modestly, something they'd never had to do when they had access to my money. The lavish trips and expensive gifts for Brooke became impossible. The extended family, however, saw through the manipulation now, and most had stopped enabling the mother's narrative. Looking back at everything that happened, I realized that withdrawing that money wasn't revenge. It was self-preservation. Taking back what was mine wasn't about hurting them. It was about finally choosing myself. And in doing so, I discovered something more valuable than any amount of money could buy. The unshakable knowledge that I was enough, that I'd always been enough, and that I didn't need anyone's approval to prove it. And now, as this story of betrayal and triumph quietly fades into the shadows of your mind, dissolving into the silent spaces where memory and mystery entwine, understand that this was never just a script about money. It was an awakening, a raw, agonizing pulse of human truth wrapped in the painful reality of a toxic family. Every word you just heard was a shard of fractured reality, the cost of being invisible, the price of conditional love. It is here, in this liminal space, that these kinds of stories breathe their most potent magic, forcing you to look at the hidden costs of your own silence. I spent 30 years believing I was not enough because they repeatedly told me the opposite of the truth. My success wasn't a goal. It was a desperate, final attempt to buy love. But the moment I stopped trying to earn their approval, I finally became free to earn my own life. That stolen $36,000 became my foundation. It paid for my education. It bought me a new career. It bought me the respect of people who valued my competence, not my utility. It bought me the ability to look my parents in the eye and say, I am no longer your victim. The ultimate power of this truth is simple. You cannot fix people who refuse to see their own lies. You can only save yourself. You can only cut the threads and walk toward the life you build with your own hands. So hold on to this feeling, this electric thread of justified anger and ultimate liberation. For it is what connects us all across the vast, unseen web of human experience. If your heart races, if your mind lingers on the thought that you, too, deserve better, then you know the story has done its work. Its magic has woven itself into the fabric of your being. Before you leave this space, remember this. Every story you encounter here is a whispered invitation to look deeper, to listen harder, to choose yourself first. My revenge wasn't the withdrawal. It was the ability to stand at my own birthday party, surrounded by people who loved me unconditionally, knowing that my parents' power was entirely gone. If this story of self-preservation haunted you, then, like this video. If you want to join the fellowship of seekers who chase these hard-won truths, subscribe to this channel, and ring the bell to be the first to greet the next confession, the next painful revelation waiting to rise from the depths. Because here, we don't merely tell stories, we summon them. We become vessels for the unspoken truth. And you, dear listener, have become part of this sacred ritual. My father and I continue our measured, distant relationship. We talk every few weeks. He's proud of the Director of Revenue Operations title, proud of the townhouse I bought, proud of the woman I became, the woman he had absolutely no hand in creating. It's a bitter irony, but it's a peaceful one. My mom remains stubbornly unable to fully apologize, but her silence is no longer abusive. It's simply her failure. Brooke and I are real sisters now. We talk about our careers, our dreams, and our therapy appointments. She is free of the golden child complex, and I am free of the invisible daughter role. That is the true happy ending. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply living well, living truthfully, and refusing to let anyone dim your light ever again.